Inside of today's video, I'm sharing with you a brand new wizard build, or at least a brand new one here to my channel, brought to us by Cash from the Revenant's Discord server. What we're looking at right now is the Ice Blast Mage. Inside of the video today, I'm going to be giving you guys a look at both the build in action. This is pre-patch. Then we're going to get into the build itself. Then I'm going to show you post-patch so you can see any differences that may reside in the build from then to now. You're also going to know every single essence that you need to put this build together so that it can perform in the same fashion. Now, let's move over and take a look at the build itself and see what it's actually made of. We're going to start off with the skills. You can see Magic Missile, primary attack, and then 4 skills that may seem a little bit weird to you. There's no teleport. There's no way for you to evade in the way that we already know. Black Hole, Disintegrate, Ray of Frost, Arcane Wind. Looking forward to sharing with all of you guys how these play into action. But first, let's take a look at the charm. You'll notice that he has some really nice ones. Plus 6% damage on 2 of them, plus 4% on 1, and plus 2% on 2 of the others. Now, we're gonna go through the secondary pieces of gear. And Untouchable Mountebank is the first secondary thing that we're gonna be utilizing right here. And it says, each time you take damage, you have a 20% chance to gain a shield that absorbs damage equal to 13% of your maximum life. And this can't happen more often than once every 9 seconds. Only a 2-piece. Now we have a 2-piece of Feasting Barrons pack. It increases the duration of your harmful effects by 30%. And again, 2 pieces of gear to get that 2-set property unlock. Finally going with Graceof the Flagellant. All continual damage, channel damage, and persistent ground damage is increased by 15%. 2 pieces of that one as well. It does not matter in what slots you have what pieces. Now we're going to get into the primary pieces of gear and more importantly, the essences. So right now, the headpiece, the legendary essence, is Black Hole now devours the power of enemies caught within it, increasing the damage you deal by 3.8% up to a maximum of 19 for 2 seconds. That's what we're gaining here out of the headpiece. Notice there are 8 slots as well. This build is for people Paragons 800 plus. Now we have Cayen's Cyroclasp, and the legendary essence is Focused Entropy. Ray of Frost now unleashes a stronger instantaneous beam after a short delay, damaging and freezing all enemies in its path, and the damage is increased by 18%. I remember when I played Wizard, I didn't like how that one felt. It definitely will take some getting used to for you if it's not something that you already use. Now we have Searing Judgment, and the legendary essence is Fiery Beam. Disintegrate now channels fire, burning enemies for additional damage over time, and the damage of Disintegrate is increased by 18% from that shoulder piece. Moving on next to the pans, Graves of the Firmament. Disintegrate deals 4,477 additional damage every 3 hits. Damage is increased by 90%, which I love. I love when essences are going to do that extra 90% bonus. Now we have the first primary weapon, that is Thistle Bloom with the legendary essence Gathering Storm. Arcane Wind now conjures a storm that grows over time, pulling in and damaging nearby enemies, and the damage of Arcane Wind is increased by 18%. Another skill I wouldn't typically use with the wizards. This one is getting more and more interesting to me as we go. Then we have the Unrepentant Gale. Maximum Arcane Wind charges increased by 1, and the cooldown is reduced by 3.6. Notice that is the 1 slot that he has right now, I believe, that's awakened. Actually, that's not true, but it is awakened slot, and it increases the wind damage by 10% additionally. Now to the stance slots, which is only going to be for people that have 800 resonance plus, we're going with Negation Blade. Black Hole also absorbs nearby enemy projectiles, and Black Hole's cooldown is reduced by 3.6%. Utilizing Black Hole, something else we don't always see. And finally, the last and final essence and piece of gear is the secondary hand weapon. Arcane Wind now also freezes chilled enemies for 2.4 seconds, cannot occur more often than once every 3 seconds, 5 seconds for player. Now, we are also going to take a little bit of a look here at some of the other attributes of this build. And he's showing you all of the bonuses as well, all of the stat bonuses that he has, the family attributes. Now, I like seeing how this build functions after we've gone through the entire update, because sometimes builds get nerfed, sometimes things change, and there was a nerf to the wizard, but it doesn't seem to impact this build whatsoever. And I think what we should do right now is dive right on into that one and take a look at what that looks like right now. So here we go. This is post-patch battles in Battlegrounds, as you can see. He's sitting right now, when this was being recorded, at a Paragon of 977. And we're going to see how he plays through as I read through some of the notes that he shared with me inside of his little write-up of this build. I'll also be taking these notes and putting them in the description of this video so you could check it out, read through it, and make sure that you have everything proper. I'll even write down all the different pieces so that you can know that you have the proper essences. So, coming from Cash. So given that you're lacking teleport, this will be a challenging build if you're dependent on teleport. The upside is that it gives you another skill slot for crowd control. Crowd control is a huge factor in your movements. Playing the backfield is how you want to run, so you're not going to be jumping out in front of everyone or doing anything crazy. You're going to stay behind your barbarians and crusaders, etc. Dropping wind one at a time, dropping wind, and spacing them throughout the battleground is a combination with Black Hole will give you tons of room to move in and out of the crowd. Also, the big thing that helps me survive against bigger resonance in my Reforged Stones is his Reforged Stone, stacking 2% Immobilize and 10% and the 6% across the board cheat death for a total of 48%. All right, so utilizing the Reforged Stones there as well. Also using Protector from the Warband. A lot of the attacks will be at off-screen targets, so you have to pay attention to the map so you can exhaust the enemies who will respawn by over the CC the crowd. So basically you're going to be utilizing your range here and making sure that red dots are in front of you. As you can see right there, he's doing a lot of the damage very much from afar. Then the instantaneous Ice Beam Blast into a CC'd enemy right as the previous CC winds down provides knockback and freeze control. The Blood Knights hate this. Altogether, I can still CC multiple enemies at once for almost 10 seconds, even with the previous patch, which is what we're watching now. Which, by the way, is absurd to further nerf an already weak class, but anyway, he won't be getting into that. A little bit bitter of a wizard right here. Now, with this build, a lot of folks tend to lean towards the Crystal instead of the Ice Blast. Not a bad strategy, but it makes you stationary. With the skills, I use a very mobile strategy, and his attacks are very dependable to drop and leave behind to do damage while I heal. All right, so he doesn't get stuck. He can always move, and that's how he's getting his mobility, through his gameplay style. All in all, I have completely changed my mind, PvP setup and play style for the pre-match. Now I play more defensive, and I always conclude that it's better to stay alive longer and deal the damage as much as possible while alive. So instead of diving in there, doing a bunch of damage and taking his life or losing his life, he now instead will stay alive, maybe do some less damage, but continuously beat down on his opponents. I think we've given a good representation of the build, and hopefully this is a new wizard build that you can test out and maybe even enjoy. Make sure you let me know in the comments section below if you enjoy this build, if you like it, or what you would do differently. And in addition, if you ever have a build and you are at or above Paragon level of the server, make sure you reach out to me in the comments on Discord or over on Twitter, because I'm always happy to feature community builds, because after all, I cannot play every class inside of the game all the time. I just can't do it. That's why we focus on the community sometimes. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next video.